Now let us move on to our second presentation. It is my pleasure to invite Ms. American to present on skill system alignment for just transition and LDC graduation in Cambodia. Please, Ms. Mary, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Orkun Chanran, Excellency. Che Kachapadam, Kinyom Som Kurup, Aikudom, Luk Chomtio, Luk Srei, Pinuchiat, Pinu Antarakchiat, Tango, Dailmian Vatamian, Nautini, Chiati Kurup, Kinyom Chimur Merikent, Niak, Aikite, Chomniang Knong Dambon, Asia Pacific, Malpianka Ayalo. Alani, Kinyom Som, Niai, Pisau Ongle. Yesterday, several experts talked about the need for a smooth LDC transition. Today, I'm going to talk about the concept of aligning skill system to deliver a just transition for successful LDC graduation. And I will start with a synopsis of our current context, which is now becoming, I think, familiar through the presentations of speakers yesterday and this morning. So as a brief synopsis, Cambodia's pentagonal strategy sets the 2050 vision of crisis-resilient growth at 7%, more jobs and better quality jobs, reduction of policy to below a level of 10%, strengthening capacity of governance in public institutions, and ensuring sustainable socio-economic development that is resilient to climate change and aligned with Cambodia's net zero goal for 2050. And while LDC graduation is a recognition of Cambodia's sustained development success, it will exert a downward pressure on the economy in the short term, especially for some of the export sectors that have driven growth, such as garment sector, bicycles and rice. We have some indicative estimates here for the risk that this might bring to the economy and people's livelihoods. And then at the bottom here, to navigate LDC graduation and remain on course for the 2050 vision, the challenge will be to leverage Cambodia's human capital for economic competitiveness, to improve productivity in export sectors, to diversify both horizontally and vertically, to create new growth and mitigate the risk of job losses, and to develop institutional capacity, continuing to reduce reliance on foreign aid and development assistance. So moving to the concept of a just transition, this is simply to maximize the social and economic opportunities of a given structural transition while carefully managing the risks and the challenges. And specifically, this means identifying groups whose employment, earnings, quality of work, or employment prospects could be negatively impacted through the transition. And this concept is frequently used in climate-related economic transitions where declining or sunset industries are likely to result in direct and indirect job losses that are not simply offset by growth in emerging or sunrise occupations. So, for example, those who may lose a job at a coal-fired power station and the supply chains that support that may not neatly just transfer across to renewable energy employment. So we need to think a bit more strategically. And in these cases, displaced workers often require retraining or other ALMPs to help them make that transition into a new type of productive employment. ILO's government, industry and worker representatives adopted the guidelines for a just transition towards environmentally sustainable economies and societies for all, and this was adopted in 2015. This recommends a coordinated and comprehensive policy approach and response, filled by social dialogue, supported by social protection and ALMPs, with specifically targeted skills development tactics and policies, effective job market matching services, and respect for international labour standards, recognising that some of the individuals who are or who are at risk of displacement in the labour force are at heightened risk of exploitation or deterioration in their working conditions. This diagram shows the relationship between the development of the skill system and a well-managed structural transition. And our starting point is our current position, where the skill system development and the structural transition is yet to begin. In this scenario, we see low-skilled, low productivity, low-wage workers, inequalities in the skill system, a limited responsiveness of the skill system to industry needs, limited labour market intelligence, skills foresight or scenario planning for the LDC, and high informality. In a scenario where the skill system develops, but without an effectively managed structural transition, we would expect to see an improved skill system, but where the incentive to study might remain low. Higher skilled graduates, we may have higher skilled graduates, but the risk of brain drain through wage competition remains evident. And there may be some gains in transition from training to traditional industries through work-based learning pathways, but this may not stimulate diversification. Our third scenario shows the effect of a positive structural transition, but without the supporting change in skill system development. And this shows that the predominantly low-skilled workforce will continue, with a risk of inbound skills migration for higher level jobs. There would be increased competition with emerging low-cost economies, and without improvement in LMI, forecasting, foresight, and industry responsiveness, then the skill system will be unable to respond to the emerging opportunities or shocks. Consequently, high rates of informality will be likely to continue, and the fiscal space will remain limited. In our final scenario, the skill system and structural transformation meet in a just transition, where there is more skilled and formal employment, better wages and working conditions, improved domestic productivity and competitiveness, improved data and industry responsiveness, and this is linked with funding efficiency and economic agility. There would be a more equitable labour force participation with a virtuous cycle driving formalisation, improved skills funding and social resilience. And the skilled domestic workforce would attract a higher value FDI. Next, I would like to share a conceptual framework to show how the components of a skill system align during a period of transition. So on the left, we have the factors that drive the supply of skills, and on the right, we have the drivers of skill demand, which consist of current demand, forecast or scenario-based demand, and the incentives for employers and workers to undertake training. The red circle shows skill system coordination functions. Now, in a steady state of predictable growth, this function is predictable. It doesn't need to be large or complicated. But in a period of rapid transition, such as the one that we're facing right now, this function needs to work very hard, like an athlete's heart in a race. But instead of pumping blood, this pumps information, dialogue, communication, and evidence that drives the strategic decision-making. And when this is linked with an effective employment services that match skills with employment opportunities, then the strong match leads to inclusive growth, resilience and labour market efficiency. And of course, if the match between skills and jobs is weaker, then this acts as a drag on economic potential with reduced adaptability, skill shortages, and a lower skilled economy. So how do we go about strengthening this skills system coordination function? How do we develop a coordination function with a healthy heart like an athlete? I'll share a couple of examples from around the region, which may be familiar to many of you. So the first is Singapore's industry transformation maps. So the Ministry of Trade and Industry in Singapore have developed 23 of these maps, and these provide visions for the priority sectors of the economy that are undergoing rapid change. This one here is for the electronics sector. And these industry transformation maps link with 36 skills frameworks that signpost graduates, employers, and experienced workers towards training and incentivize training that meet this need. So interestingly, this is a very demand-driven design, but the incentives are on the supply side. This year in Singapore, adults over the age of 40 were given a balance of 4,000 Singapore dollars to spend on any skills training that aligned with these industry transformation maps. So that clearly aligns and incentivizes individuals at this working age to contribute and participate and offers a pathway into productive employment. And the clear vision for skills in high demand also incentivizes training providers to develop new programs that meet the anticipated demand. A more recent and interesting development in skills coordination ecosystems are the industry skills frameworks in Malaysia. So there are currently 14 skills frameworks. The idea is similar. These are the industries that are critical and are likely to be undergoing rapid change. And this has been developed by HRD Corp, which was established as a limited company under the Ministry of Human Resources in Malaysia. So this example here is the second edition for the apparel and footwear manufacturing sector. And you can see in the examples that are the pages that I've shared, this shows the skills that are in highest demand and provides a very, very clear pathway for those who are interested in working in the sector, employers in the sector, and existing workers who want to improve their skills in line with the way that the industry is progressing. So these are two hard-working skills coordination functions that have a strategic role in matching and incentivizing skills supply with anticipated demand. TESDA in the Philippines acts in a similar way. And these coordination functions all integrate consistent private sector dialogue and labour market intelligence with evidence-based policymaking and skills innovation. Before coming to my key takeaway points, I'd like to look at some general principles for raising the supply of skills in Cambodia. So these are structural enablers that, regardless of strategy, will help to drive forward the supply of skills. So the first is to target rising participation and inclusivity across enrolments. Cambodia's strength is in its working age population and high female rates of labour force participation. Yet only 36 to 38% of TVET graduates are female. Raising female enrolment targets, even at incremental rates, will raise national productivity and build resilience in a population that is overrepresented in the informal economy and highly concentrated in the garment sector, which we know is vulnerable. Similarly, inclusivity targets can be equally powerful productivity drivers for other underrepresented groups. It's great to see the government's commitment to providing TVET opportunities for 1.5 million ID poor, and we hope to see similar enrolment goals for people with disabilities, rural populations, and other groups in future. The next point is the importance of supporting foundational learning and skills recognition for adults. We heard yesterday that although there has been very strong and sustained progress made in raising Cambodia's educational attainment, there are still about 40% of adults who have a primary school level education or less. So these individuals are those at risk of the skills trap, those who do not have the foundational literacies to be able to access new skills. This is where programs like BEEP come in, and it's important to keep this sustained focus on upskilling this group of individuals who will benefit the most. The third point is closing the digital gap. And I think the audience here knows well that improving digital infrastructure and building digital skills brings benefits at all levels. I'm sure the government will continue the good work to improve infrastructure and deeply integrate digital learning into the skills system. And then finally, implementing certified and quality apprenticeships or work-based learning programs is consistently found to be a cost-effective way to narrow the skills gap, raise productivity, improve the school-to-work transition, and improve the image of vocational training. There are no downsides, so let's hope to see the government agenda on this continue. In conclusion, I'd like to share 6 takeaway points. The first is to align skills and employment policies with just transition principles for LDC graduation. Quite simply, who is at risk and how can we innovate within the skills system to improve their prospects? Number 2, strengthen the skills system and coordination functions. These are the parts of the system that identify the skills in demand and they drive innovation in skills delivery models. Number 3, to establish strong dialogue channels or task forces in sectors that are likely to be impacted to look at skills pathways for affected workers. Number 4, to target full inclusivity in skills and lifelong learning design. And this may require research to understand what the drivers that limit participation are. Number 5, promote post-graduation trade competitiveness through embedding environmental, social and corporate governance in export-orientated curriculum. So working with industry on curriculum development can really also help to enhance the knowledge of horizontal linkages in these industries too. And number 6, strengthen progression pathways for new and existing workers. For new workers, this is often a quality certified apprenticeship program. And for existing workers, this can be sector-wide programs to enhance basic skills. អរគុណច្រើនសម្រាប់ការស្ដាប់បទបង្ហាញអរគុណ
Thank you very much, Ms. Marie, for your insightful presentation. You have highlighted that the critical challenge Cambodia faced during this transition from LDC status, including the potential risk to export, job, and also economic growth. So, and moreover, you also emphasize the importance of aligning the skill system to support economic diversification, improve productivity, and create equitable access to quality employment opportunities. So the strategic focus on lifelong learning, digital skill, and stronger system coordination provide a clear path forward to addressing these challenges effectively. Thank you very much.